What's up, Green Jeans? How you doing? How is everything tonight? I hope you're doing well. Oh, man. So I looked into the most recent information about Kurt Cobain's death. And yeah, it's pretty much what I expected from years ago, that they should have had this, you know, they should have been looking at this a long time ago. Because I've known, you know, I mean, one, I lived, you know, this actually hits close to home because I lived in Washington. In fact, I knew people who went to the same high school, who lived in the same town as Kurt Cobain. You know, because Kurt Cobain lived in Washington. You know, he came up from Aberdeen. And so I knew people. So, I mean, when his death was announced, pretty much everybody I knew was like, no, that's not him. That he wouldn't have done that. I mean, especially when he was getting his life back on track. I mean, yeah, he was a multimillionaire musician, stuff like that. They sell 4-pound frog legs. Yeah, those are huge. Damn. But yeah, I mean, there was a documentary. I don't know how long ago they did it, but it was called Soaked in Bleach. I'd suggest anybody watching it because it raises a whole lot of questions. The reason why it's called Soaked in Bleach is because the room was soaked in bleach where he ended up dying. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous that he would have done that, prepped the room, let alone the amount of substance that was in his system. He wouldn't have been able to coordinate his hands or however he was supposedly have done it. I mean, people have done reenactments to a certain degree, and even sober, they can't really position the gun the way he was supposed to. Supposedly had done it. That's what blows me away. is that, yeah, I mean, you're not supposed to be able to do that. Not only that, he was 27 years old. This is a huge industry timer. See, a lot of people don't understand why the 2700 or 27 Club exists. So it happened by accident way back. I think it was in the 50s as one of the first ones, 50s or 60s. And I'm pretty sure that it wasn't intentional or anything like that, but there is a clause in almost every music contract called the death clause. If you die, everything reverts to the label or reverts to your manager, depending. And also at the age of 27, most people are in the process of changing, growing up. You know, they're shifting to a different phase in life. And this is generally when it comes to music, or almost specifically music, where hey, what's up, Jade? We're talking about Kurt Cobain and like how the 2700 Club, or 2700. Why do I keep saying 2700 Club? The 27 Club exists. At 27, people are, yes, Kurt Cobain, he's dead. I'm sorry to tell you this. It happened 32 years ago, and we're just now getting the information. No, they recently did some more forensic study. Yeah, wow, we're slow. Well, no, yeah, we're slow at actually calling it murder. And even this isn't even an unofficial source. Well, I can't click on that, Green Jeans, because it's a Facebook reel, but because I don't have Facebook. Basically, when you're talking about the 27 Club, it's when musicians are generally in the process of changing their sound. You know, they're growing up, they want to change, they want to do something different. And, you know, a lot of people go through this phase in their life. Sometimes it's called like an early midlife crisis, but it's not really a midlife crisis. But they've done some restudying and they found that, you know, there's a whole lot of evidence that says he didn't do it. He didn't do it to himself. And I can honestly say, duh, I know he didn't do it to himself. We knew it back when I was 14 when this happened. You know, I grew up near the town where he grew up. It wasn't that far away, you know, let alone he didn't, you know, he still lived in like Seattle or Tacoma area. You know, he lived in a higher end area. And so this all happened really close to me. And when it happened, I was in high school where everybody was talking about it. And nobody thought he did it to himself. Like there wasn't a person that was like, oh yeah, you know, he did it. No, he did. He didn't do it. There's not a chance he did it. Sorry to say. The fact is that we knew it back then. We know, you know, it's rumored, there's unsubstantiated, circumstantial, whatever you want to call it. We know who benefited. Because he was looking at getting a divorce. He was doing, you know, changing things in his life. So, yeah, we knew that it was gonna, you know, we knew why it happened. The label probably was looking at it. His wife was probably looking at it, which, I mean, some of you might know her, Courtney Love. Nobody understood what was going on there. On why he was with her, like, especially at the time. I mean, Seattle grunge scene, you know, Nirvana was the breakout, blah, blah, blah. Nobody knew why he was with her specifically. That's what was ridiculous, is because I don't know how to say it. Just industry plant. You know, I mean, that's pretty much the best way I could say, is that the only reason why she had any kind of career Like, yeah, there were some good songs. One good song I can think of that made it on a soundtrack. And when you understand musicians, that's super rare, and it's probably enough to keep you rolling for a while, but not enough to make a good life. Whereas Nirvana, I mean, they had whole albums that were immaculate. They had whole albums that were just, I mean, so good. So it's really baffling to see that they're just now getting around, you know, to an independent investigation going, yeah, we're pretty sure he didn't do that himself. Probably homicide. And all I got to say is duh. I mean, you don't have a room soaked in bleach. You don't prep a room for yourself. I don't care who you are. You don't prep a room for yourself. Or if you do, it's extremely rare. And soaking it in bleach basically it ensured that DNA evidence was going to be messy. And DNA evidence at that time was very rudimentary. I think they need to relook into it, and I think they need to get the people that are behind it. I think we have let people get away with too much for too long. And there's a whole lot of people that need to get done, you know, get the justice they deserve. They need to go to jail. You know, and that's for a lot of things, I will say. That's for a lot of things right now. Hey, what's up, CT? Yeah, I've noticed you've been lurking for the last few days. I don't complain. You're good, man. But you go to bed. You have a good one. Yes. In fact, there was a whole bunch of crimes that had to be redone because one lady that was doing DNA kits kept licking her fingers before she would put the DNA kits together. Like, don't let me Mothman bite? All right. It's a way to say it. Same to you, CT. You have a good one. Sleep well. But yeah, you know, I mean, the 27 Club exists because they found out that if a musician dies, what's up, EXO? How you doing? Their catalog becomes stable. I actually firmly believe they tried to do it to Michael Jackson. In fact, that might explain some of the later things that he had going on. Sick but alive. Yeah, well, that's a good thing. Ah, hi. I don't know. It's just, it's really difficult to explain how music and stuff works because of the way it all levels out. Because you know, at 27, you're at the height of your popularity. Most musicians kind of stabilize after 27, and they don't really become, you know, they don't have another big wave of hits. I think that has more to do with how we market musicians now than anything about them. Okay, they did eventually get MJ. No, I'm talking about back when he was 27, back in the 80s. You know, when he was younger, I think they actually did try to 27 Club him. I think he managed to avoid it, but I think he had lifelong problems because of it. That's my insane theory. Because they did try to destroy his career because there was an album, I think it was after Thriller. No, well, okay, the stage accident could have been part of it. which he did have lifelong issues from the stage accident, but I think there was more behind the scenes that we don't know. There were, I want to say it was 84, 85. See, I was too young at this point to really understand what was going on. But basically, he was calling out the record label he was with. Like, he was calling the runner evil and all of this, and he was trying to do all of this extra stuff. Like, he bought a bunch of music catalogs, which means that he got the residuals. He got money from a bunch of people. Like, he owned the Beatles, catalog of records. I think he even ended up with Elvis Presley's and a bunch of musicians. It's actually how he secured his power. And he had airtight wills so that they couldn't really take him out. And I think that was all part of it. I mean, you have to remember that music labels as we know it today, and I think I've explained this before, but maybe I haven't. Music labels as we know them today were started by the mob. Like, legitimately, I think it was Al Capone's nephew or cousin who started MCA Universal, or what it was. I can't remember what it was at the time. Good evening, 2K Andy. How are you? So, well, how this got started was, so when Prohibition got started, they needed a reason for people to come to the speakeasies instead of drinking, even though they were still serving alcohol. I mean, this is where you get the 2-drink minimums. This is where you get a whole lot of stuff that goes along with music and clubs. Remember, this was all organized crime. Or at the time when they were really starting to organize. And so to launder the money that they were getting from selling the booze, they would bring in acts so that they would sell tickets. And it came with 2 drinks. It came with, whatever. And then you'd have to buy the rest. So they realized that this was extremely lucrative and extremely easy way to launder money from the alcohol sales, because it had to make that look legit. So when they did that, it started the music labels. And they really haven't changed tactics since. I mean, all you have to do is look in music and see how insane it gets. Musicians are taken advantage of. And it's brutal. Musicians have very little agency over themselves. It's hard to explain without being an insider, with only being somebody that's stood outside and watched and researched. But you pay attention, there's certain acts that are brilliant acts that go nowhere. Or they don't get the fame they deserve, if that makes sense. It's really hard to explain. Well, I guess it isn't really that hard to explain. Basically, it's if you don't play by their rules, you don't get in. I mean, especially with some of the things that are going on in the news now, you might understand why certain people are in certain files, because they needed blackmail on them so that they could have so they could convince them to do whatever they wanted. I think some of the victims are perpetrators and vice versa. Not all, but I think some of them basically, it's so muddy now. Yes, exactly. They give you a money card, so you're in debt. Oh, yeah. Well, you also have to realize, Andy, that most musicians don't own their cars. They don't own their house. They don't own anything. It's all handled by the label. You know, so even if the musician goes bankrupt, the musician is the only thing that goes bankrupt. The label owns everything else. You know, that's why so many musicians, while they live a rock star life, as soon as they kind of cut ties with the industry, they end up with pretty much nothing. And also keep in mind that when you sign, yeah, exactly. Right. Well, in today's day and age, here's a little secret. If you make music, if you make it big, there's no reason to sign a contract. None whatsoever. There is no reason to sign a contract. The whole contract is only about the music industry taking money, taking things away from you. That's all it is. It's only, you're only going to lose. There's no reason to sign with a music label. There's no reason to sign. I mean, even if you become an actor, there's no reason to sign with a, Markiplier proved it. There's no reason to go with the current industry. That old industry is dying. I mean, it's been around for 100 years. It can't keep up with what's going on now. I mean, you look at modern movies. They spend so much money on mediocre that they never really make their money back. No matter how successful the movie is, no matter how successful the music is, you're really not getting anything back. That's just, let's be honest, that's really what's happening. Is that you're watching how many different YouTubers? How many of them are actually signed with Hollywood? How many Twitch streamers are signed with Hollywood? And almost as soon as they sign with Hollywood, their internet career dies. What's the most recent one? Kai Cenat. Like, he just broke a whole bunch of records and then dropped off the face of the earth, tried to rise organically with something else and nobody even saw it. He had to point it out with his original, and he's pretty much disappeared, but he's going on to be a fashion brand and like palling around with all of his movie star people. I mean, me personally, I think Kai Cenat was an industry plant. They were trying to use him to transition more Twitch streamers and stuff to Hollywood because Hollywood's losing its luster. You know, music labels are losing their luster because people are realizing all they're doing is taking from them now. I mean, Markiplier spent no money on his budget of his movie, and he made 6-7 times its budget back, and probably more now. So why would you sign all of these contracts to just let people take money away from you and dictate what you can do? Another industry story is Vanilla Ice. Vanilla Ice wanted to be a rock and roller, a metal guy, you know, hard rock. That's what he wanted to do. What does everybody know him as? One of the first white rappers. And I'll be honest, you know, Eminem owes a lot to Vanilla Ice. People may not believe me, but if it wasn't for Eminem, or not Eminem, if it wasn't for Vanilla Ice, Eminem wouldn't have come out. Even if Eminem just had to prove that white guys can rap and not be Vanilla Ice. You know, I mean, to be honest, Vanilla Ice didn't want to rap. In fact, I heard his metal album. He even covered his own song, Ice Ice Baby, only in a metal version. And I will tell you, it sounded so much better. And he didn't have to pay Queen to sample their music, which was under pressure, by the way. You know, I mean, there's this YouTuber I watch who does his own music here and there. I mean, he's not super popular, but he makes more money doing what he does through YouTube than if he was to ever sign. Yeah, he wanted to do metal. And welcome in, Infinite. I know you've been lurking, probably been lurking for a while, but welcome in. Weird Al, the story of a champion? No, Weird Al was an industry plant. I guarantee it. As much as I love Weird Al, don't get me wrong, Weird Al would have gotten nowhere by himself. Nowhere at all. He had to have, see, this is the thing most people don't understand. And I don't care what industry you're in, whether it's politics, science, it doesn't matter. All it takes to actually succeed is somebody else to notice you. It doesn't matter how much work you put in. It doesn't matter what you do. All it takes is somebody to notice you. Somebody with clout, somebody with more cred than you have. You know, because, I mean, except for like when Twitch or when YouTube were first getting started, that was just random chance. That was just the first people. And so, I mean, but say like if Markiplier decided to pop in on my stream and say hi, the chances are my channel would grow exponentially. Probably to the point where I couldn't keep up with it and it'd implode. I mean, this is actually why big streamers don't do that until somebody's hit a certain level, because it's more detrimental than it is good. You don't, man, I want to use it. Well, most of you are gaming. You don't Zerg rush somebody, or not Zerg rush, but you don't, what is the word for level boost? You don't level boost someone. Because if you don't have the skills to handle it, you know, yeah, you can be, you know, level 100 in the current MMO, but if you don't know how to play the game, if you don't know what your hotkeys, your macros that you would naturally evolve over time of learning, you're going to get fried the first, you know, boss you run into. That's just how it works. And with the internet, with YouTube, Twitch, you know, that's even worse. Like even worse things happen. Because, I mean, now you're suddenly exposed to millions of people, if not sometimes more. You're not ready for the fame. And I mean, look at how many internet stars we've seen implode, because most of them are kids, you know, and I'm counting people, you know, less than 30. You know, they're pretty much kids. They don't really know what they want to do with their life. They think they do. And it ends up, they just implode, or they, you know, adhere to somebody else in the industry and they can't exist without them, which makes them end up signing these detrimental contracts that all it does is just hurt them in the long run. It's terrible. Which is why you don't see the bigger YouTubers and stuff like that until a person reaches a certain point. You know, once you start getting your first 100,000, it's okay to, you know, for a bigger streamer to start pushing things, because once you get beyond your first 100,000, maybe even your first 50K, you know, get that halfway to the silver play button, then you can start getting boosted. Oh yeah. Yeah, bad situation like Justin Bieber did with Usher. And then, well, basically he was passed off from Usher to Diddy. That's what happened with Justin. But even then, Justin was an industry plant. You know, everybody says, oh, he was one of the first YouTube stars. He was noticed on YouTube. It's like, no, he had a whole studio behind him. It's not like he was in his bedroom recording songs. Most people don't realize that was a set, just like with Billie Eilish. It's a freaking set. They weren't in their room recording. It's legitimately a set. You know, just like with Taylor Swift, regardless of what you think about her, her parents had the money. Right. See, that's what I'm saying is that you don't see this until they're famous. And then you're going, wait, where did they come from? It's like so many musicians that are a flash in the pan. Now, back to Taylor Swift. I mean, her parents built her a recording studio in their house. Her parents had industry ties. She wasn't just out of the blue. She was given it. Very few artists actually rise from nothing. I mean, even Metallica, they were a friggin' garage band. Probably because I don't know who that is. You know, I know Justin Bieber's name. I know Taylor Swift's name, even though I couldn't tell you a song that they've ever sung that I've ever even heard. But Stitches. I don't know what you're talking about. Stitches. Like, look, I am severely cut off from most. Okay, well, I'm not denying that. What I'm trying to say though is that, I mean, I couldn't tell you even what Ice Spice sounds like, but I know her name. Okay. It's like with anime. I got so tired of listening to the same crap over and over again. Okay. But like I said, I got tired of listening to the same crap over and over again. The early 2010s to 2015, to now, basically, I just stopped listening to modern music because it sounded the same. I'm going to be honest, it all sounded the same. You know, I didn't listen to radio. I listened to very tailored playlists on Pandora for years and years. Like my kids found it funny when Imagine Dragons became popular because they'd been hearing it for about a year by the time their kids in school had started going, oh my God, these guys are really good. And my kids are going, yeah, my dad's been listening to them for a while. Because I do highly tailored lists, but it's very all over the board. Because I like some country, I like some rap, I like some opera, I like some classical, I like heavy metal, I like a whole lot of stuff. I like good music. I don't care what genre it is. They called you emo for liking Imagine Dragons? Imagine Dragons not even close to being. Yeah, My Chemical Romance, MSI, Suncore Doth. Yeah. Fallout Boy. See, I don't pay attention to genre. Linkin Park is not emo. Is it? Anyway. I thought Linkin Park was more nu metal than it was emo. Well, Linkin Park, okay, their first album, I wore out a CD. Oh, System of a Down, Seether. I like all sorts of music. I don't even pay attention to how old music is. Like, apparently I was listening to Lorde and I thought it was from the 70s or 80s. Well, yeah, I mean, well, if you listen to lyrics, then every country song's an emo song. pretty much. Or at least pre-2000s country. Okay, well, what's one of your favorite bands then? At one point, I think it was considered, but I still think that's more poppy. I mean, yeah, they dive into emo here and there, but I would consider Panic more pop punk than really emo. Yeah, see, I don't really consider Panic to be emo. I think he wanted to be, but I think... Oh, yeah. I totally agree. Absolutely agree. Brendan Urie made it pop because he wanted to be more popular. Right? But see, that's the point I'm trying to make. See, right there, you know, you're trying to shoehorn something into... And, you know, and you all are guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. Of trying to pigeonhole a band into a little, you know, box. You know, we want these things nice and clean. Why? Music is messy. Paramore is closer to, I mean, yeah, I was going to say it's a dark rock. I wouldn't really consider it to be emo. You know, Pretty Reckless is, you know, emo metal. But see, that's the point. Is like, why are we even trying to genreify these music? If you like it, who cares what genre it's of? Evanescence. Now that is definitely emo. Right. You know, I'm just trying to say that we're guilty of, yeah, Pretty Reckless, Evanescence. Yeah, I listen to everything. Legitimately. Yes, Going Under. Hello. Oh, Flyleaf. I don't know how to describe it, but you know, we try too hard to... Call Me When You're Sober. There you go. Yeah, I mean, the first Evanescence album is beautiful. Beautiful in its darkness, but it's also just well done. Amy Lee has a wonderful voice, and being backed up by her band or the band, it's great. I don't know. I don't really care what genre a song is. Shinedown is a bit country. Like they are. I mean, they have country influences. And that's the point I'm trying to make is why do you care? Why do you care if they sound country? Do you like how it sounds? I mean, one of the original goth artists was Johnny Cash. I mean, you go back and listen to Johnny Cash back in the day. Oh my God. You know, he was dark. You know, I mean, right. Ring of Fire is just scraping the surface. Ring of Fire is a good song, yes. But you start talking about, oh yeah, he was fighting some demons. I mean, man, why can't I remember any of the really good ones? I mean, Man in Black, God's Gonna Cut You Down. Um, Walk the Line. I'm trying to think of some of his more obscure ones. Yeah, exactly. See, my kids listen to a band called Palais Royale. I don't know how to describe their music, but I really like it. But yeah, like what is it? Cocaine Sunday or Cocaine Blues, something like that. Cocaine Come Down. I can't remember. He had one that was basically talking about a cocaine hangover. I mean, literally, before he got into the gospel. Tater's actually gone and seen him in all right. See you soon, Green Jeans. Tater's actually seen him live. The front row. I can't remember Depeche Mode. Palais Royale and Depeche Mode share a whole lot of similarities. Just Palais Royale is more hard rock. And I will say the soundtrack for, what was it, American Satan? Top tier soundtrack. The movie was ass. And they probably did. I love the fact that they managed to stay pretty close to independent. And just like they wanted to. Right? But you also have to remember, I'm going to be weird because I wasn't introduced to music until middle high school. Middle of my years in high school, other than what kids listen to in junior high and stuff, I wasn't really allowed to listen to anything good. I mean, I bought, I don't know how many Metallica Black albums because my parents kept throwing mine away. Because it was the devil's music. And I kept earning my own money, so they couldn't even stop me from buying it. And I mean, the Black Album is a good album, yes. But it's by far not their best. What, right? Yeah, your parents bought you an Ozzy album. My parents bought me, what was it? Simpsons Sing the Blues and is some Disney music thing, not from a soundtrack. Like I remember specifically one of the songs was Mickey and Minnie on a Moonlit Night. My parents, the hardest thing I got to listen to growing up was the Beach Boys. Now, I still love the Beach Boys to this day. Do not get me wrong. Good surf rock is good surf rock. Jan and Dean are another good one. But there's more than to music out there. I got to listen to Carpenters. I got to listen to Johnny Horton. Oh God, my mom loved her Oompa Loompa music. Her polka, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, a good polka is still fun. I mean, it's probably why I still like, Weird Al, because he incorporates polka beats. But I'm just saying that because of the way I grew up, well, let's put it this way, Andy. I went from listening to Beach Boys to Metallica's Black Album, which by far is their tamest album. And I went from that to my buddy was having me listen to Megadeth and what's the other one? I can't remember. Megadeth, which I really like Megadeth. And then I just kind of kept evolving my sound. And I mean, I still love good country. It's just hard to find good country. Betray you? Well, I wasn't even really allowed to listen to the radio, Andy. In middle school, I got to listen to the radio for a little bit, but that was only because my aunt was a DJ. Yeah, I mean, it was so hard growing up that way. You know, kids would make references to music that I had no clue what it was. I had no idea. Hate Me Today? Oh, Blue Monday. That probably. I mean, Blue Monday is a Violent Femmes. Another good, you know, I mean, I had a buddy that would go to an open mic night at a local cafe that we had. And he would sing death metal. And he was actually pretty good at it. Well, Andy, I was only allowed to have an AM radio because my parents could control what I could listen to. It's actually also where I got my love of old radio dramas. In fact, still to this day, I wish I could find some good radio dramas, which they do have a station on YouTube for that. Long weekend ahead, huh? It's hard to explain when you know, you grow up so sheltered, and then like, well, I liked the noir and the adventure. To be honest, like the old, oh my God, who knows what who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows. You know, stuff like that. Oh yeah, I mean, I could listen to golden oldies, what they were called at the time, which is 50s and 60s. Like Big Bopper and stuff like that. Elvis is good. I absolutely think the Beatles, they're totally overrated. Me and my buddy used to get in this argument about who had more influence on music, Elvis or the Beatles. And I would always tell him Elvis. And he would scream, cry, and throw up. Well, see, the Beatles were really good at writing songs. I think they're trash in their sound. I mean, but also I wasn't around when they were popular. But they just sound tinny and boring to me. You know, and I honestly think that, I mean, I can still go back and listen to Elvis, and Elvis is damn good. The Beatles write great songs, but my God, they cannot sing them well. They write great songs for other people to cover. I mean, when Aerosmith covers Sweet Emotion, there is more emotion in it than what the Beatles put into it. Well, to give you an idea, Andy, without Elvis, there wouldn't be the Beatles. And that's why Elvis had more of an influence on music than the Beatles. Hands down. I'm just going to tell you that right now. No lie, no nothing. Elvis had more of an influence on music than the Beatles did. Because without Elvis, the Beatles wouldn't exist. They were starstruck when they met him. So, you know, figure that out. You know, who's supposed to have more of an influence on who? But I mean, honestly, you probably should listen to some classic Elvis. Especially like from his movie days. I mean, Jailhouse Rock, still one of my favorites. Yeah. Well, so did the Beatles. Well, the Beatles had a much larger influence prior to the death. I will say that. There was the controversy that John may have died earlier, and people go back and forth on that all the time. You know, that's one of the original conspiracy theories, that John was supposed to be dead. But that's neither here nor there. I'll just say that I still love a good Beatles song. Oh, it is a great conspiracy theory because you can find a lot of proof for it. I mean, Abbey Road, he's the only one not wearing shoes. Yeah, John Lennon. I thought he just went home. MIB reference, sorry. I've heard so many different theories about Elvis, and seriously, the dude would not be alive today. He's way too old, and the diet he had. Now, do I have every thought that he may have faked his death and went off to a private life somewhere? Absolutely. Right? Actually, there's a great movie with Bruce Campbell called Bubba Hotep that I love the movie. It is campy as hell and it is funny, but it has Bruce Campbell playing Elvis in a retirement home after he faked his death and let somebody else take over for him, and a race swapped JFK because they swapped his brain into his body. Well, we also don't know how many children Elvis actually had because he was prolific. Yeah, look up Bubba Hotep. It is a brilliant movie. It is a lot of fun. It is a hilarious movie, and it is fiction. It's not meant to be based on any kind of truth. I mean, it's literally about a mummy trying to take over a retirement home. But I mean, Bruce Campbell playing, doing his Elvis impersonation, brilliant. There you go. I'm not familiar with that one. It's a Sam. Is it a Sam Raimi? I'm pretty sure it's a Sam Raimi, but it's one that they basically funded together. And that's how you know. I'm sorry, I have to point out something, by the way. So, what was that movie that was competing with Iron Lung? Send Help. Well, I kind of figured it would be better. Yeah, I do want to know the Jeffrey Dahmer one, Green Yates. But Send Help, to be a Disney movie, well, not Disney adjacent movie. They paid for it, but underneath one of their other ones. When Disney is hiring Sam Raimi, you know they're scraping. They don't have a talent they think they do. They don't have the faith in their own directors anymore, because for years, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell had to pay for their own films with very little industry help. I mean, What is it? I'm Not Ash. Great movie. Bubba Hotep, another good movie. But these are ones that they had to pay for themselves. I mean, Sam Raimi was the one behind, what was it, Xena Warrior Princess? Well, XO may have just heard about it not that long ago. You know, sometimes we hear these conspiracy theories and we don't really think about it. The host's daughter was kidnapped and Dahmer was in the mall the same day and was... Oh. Because isn't that also why we call it an Amber Alert? Was because the host's daughter, Robert Stack... Oh, no. No. Yeah, the other guy that did America's Most Wanted. Wait. Walsh. Yeah, Walsh. Yeah, because both of those guys had really bad histories. Stack and Walsh. Because the guy that did America's Most Wanted, Stack. I also think it's why is it? Shoot, man, I don't remember. I know both of them had histories, and that's how they ended up hosting these shows. But yeah, I mean, there's conspiracy theories about a lot of different things. Like, and I hate it because I love conspiracy theories, but they're also, most of them are so dark. Okay, yeah. Well, my wife used to work for a hospital, and they also have a code, Adam. Yeah, John Walsh. And yeah, Adam Walsh. But there's also Amber, and I'm trying to remember if Amber was Robert Stack? Was Stack's daughter. I can't remember. Because either way, I'm going to take a fiver. I'll be right back. I just realized the time before the stupid thing plays by itself. And we'll come right back to it. And I'm back. And I forgot to mute the microphone, so you heard me wandering around. Whoops. Sorry about that. I was thirsty. Apparently. So how are we all doing? So, I don't know. You know, like I was trying to say is that conspiracy theories are fun, but sometimes they're true. And that's where it gets disturbing to me. And this is kind of like the update portion of what I wanted to talk about me. And I'm so sick and tired. I just want some cool things to talk about. And the world's gotten too real lately. Like mental health wise, oh my God. You know, it is so hard to just want to turn on something and turn your brain off. You know, thank God I've got Raven's stories, but he can only, his stories only occupy so much of my day. While everything else, just, I mean, especially with the files being open now. Open. Okay, that's true. You know, that if you watch Murder, She Wrote from that point of view, that's hilarious. I mean, especially when she has the whole rest of the town greenlighted. Yes, greenlighted because Green Jeans came up with it. Gaslighted into believing her. But mental health wise, it's taken a lot on me. Because I like watching conspiracy theory stuff. And all of my conspiracy theory people are talking about the files. But not one of them is talking about the thing that really bothers me the most. There's a deeper secret there than just this surface layer of what they're talking about. Because I want to know, why did this guy have so many scientists on board? Think about that for a second. Stephen freaking Hawking has been to the island. Nothing of what Epstein is accused of would he participate in. But you start looking at his ties to Harvard, MIT, and other major colleges, and that he got his start in a school. You really start looking at this and going, I think there's a deeper mystery here, especially when he's talking to geneticists and early AI. Okay. This is where we start putting on our tinfoil hats, because this is where I want to talk. And no, I haven't watched the conspiracy, files, because one, pedo rings aren't my thing. I'm sorry. It's not something I really want to even look too closely at. I don't think it's a time machine. In fact, what scares me worse is that I think it's more about genetics. I mean, think about it. So here's a correlation. This is for entertainment purposes only. So Bill Gates, I believe he's doing a good thing too. It's just I'm not going to watch it. Like I would occasionally watch. Well, here you go, Infinite. Here's my tinfoil hat theory. Look at Barron Trump, the youngest child of Trump. He looks like his dad, but he doesn't really look like his dad. I know a lot of people point to various different people, but the fact is he looks like a perfected version of his dad. Yeah, it does take an incredible group of people, and I often worry about the toll that takes on people. There's a reason why in police circles, guys that do okay, maybe body replacement, but what I think more is that they're doing genetic modification. Think about basically eugenics, only not along racial lines. Yes. So I think that they were, okay, so a lot of them aren't really talking about Zorro Ranch either. Everybody talks about Little St. James. People also forget that he also, if he didn't own it, he had properties on it of Greater St. James, but also in New Mexico, he had Zorro Ranch, which Zorro Ranch is tied with a lot of missing women. Sorry, is near where body dumps of missing women have been found. I honestly think that he was doing genetic manipulation, which is why he got in touch with people that were early into AI and early into genetics. This is my theory is that this is the blackmail he has on them. This is why if they go down, everybody goes down. Because all of these elites had their kids' DNA messed with. These children are literally a breed apart now. Right? I mean, you start looking at Zorro Ranch, apparently, now, this is just what I can find out. Oh, yeah. Well, also, Andy, there's also the whole idea of quantum entanglement. And we know that the brain structure we have observed quantum tunneling. Like, we still don't fully understand how the brain works. We might be able to transfer our consciousness into another body through quantum entanglement, if we can make it as close to the same as the original as possible. And you have to remember that anything that we get commercially, the elites have 25 years in advance. So we're just now getting these commercial AIs. The elites have had access to them for a lot longer. Because I know in the 80s, we were talking about AI. I mean, it used to be ubiquitous in movies that people would walk into their house and talk. And like, I know that these things existed. Right. Well, see, that's the problem with being, I'm also a skeptic, but I hate how they talk about skeptics now, because skeptics are supposed to be professional doubters. That's not what skepticism means. Skepticism doesn't automatically mean that you have to debunk everything. Skepticism in reality is you have to bring a pretty big level of proof. I'm not saying that, ghosts don't exist, but I've never actually truly witnessed one when I would consider myself to be in the right frame of mind to witness it. I believe it exists to a certain degree. Right. Yeah, quantum jumping, quantum immortality, very familiar with these topics. But these topics have been expressed for centuries. People have been talking about this kind of stuff for centuries. Exactly. It's give me a second. Let me recollect. You have a good one, XO. You start feeling better. Reach out if you need anything, which mostly would be, from my point of view, cheering up. But anyway, Have a good night. So what I'm trying to say is that I believe that they're admitting to this stuff that's on the surface level because that's less damning. If you found out that the world leaders were literally making themselves a breed apart, like literally genetically manipulating themselves to be a breed apart through practices of, I mean, remember, we've had the CRISPR virus since the early 2000s, which is a genetic gene editing virus. We've talked about this. Dolly the sheep was cloned in 94, 95, 96, somewhere in that neighborhood. There is a IVF doctor that was literally talking about that he had been cloning himself in all these different women for who knows how long, instead of actually doing what he was supposed to be doing. And as far as I know, he's still out there and hasn't been caught because he's doing it in countries where they don't have rules against it. You think about this and then thinking about what lines Epstein and his co-conspirators were willing to cross. It's not that far of a jump to me to have him treat humans as cattle. No, it was extremely widespread. I mean, remember, Blade Runner was originally put out in 86, 87. The original Star Trek, their computer was AI. You know, not to the same level, but I mean, there were theories put out there when in the late 80s, early 90s, about when so many computers get stuck onto the same net. You know, once you mimic, once you have enough nodes, it would mimic a human brain. I mean, to be honest, the internet could be sentient and we wouldn't know. Because that kind of intelligence would be so alien compared to the way we think. Like, I mean, it's the idea of if you're in a simulation, you'd never be able to prove it. You'd never know. You know, there'd be certain things, you know, like why is the speed of light what it is? You know, why is it the limit? Well, that's because that's as fast as anything can go in an electronic system. So the speed of light is it. You know, we all could be in a simulation. You know, because we wouldn't notice the limits of our graphics capability, so to speak, because we wouldn't be capable of noticing the pixelation. Just like a video game character would only know their world. It's all there is. You know, I mean, they could talk about things being outside of it, but they wouldn't really be able to, it'd be a thought experiment. You know, just like we do when we talk about quantum theory, quantum jumping, you know, an afterlife or reincarnation or whatnot. Yeah, universal speed limit. And infinite, it's not dumb. Well, there's also theories that light speed, I mean, so I've talked about Richard Feynman in the past. Richard Feynman had a theory that light doesn't travel. That's why it has a maximum speed. Light itself doesn't travel because that requires time. And light speed doesn't involve time. That's the problem. And so when you're talking about, hold on one second. What do you mean get you a song for your playlist? CDM, and welcome in. When you're talking about the speed of light, light doesn't travel the way we think of it. because it's going so fast that it doesn't experience time, and travel requires time. That's the only way to measure time and travel and distances. For light, from light's perspective, no matter where it goes, it immediately gets there. It's teleportation. Because it's going so fast, it doesn't experience time like we do. YouTube. Spotify song, any topic? I'm not understanding the question, CDM. Sorry. I might be just being dense, but I don't really understand what you're asking for. I apologize. Well, I understand that you're asking for a song, but I don't understand what you mean by asking for it.
It wants your soup. It wants your soup.
I wish I could explain myself better, but I mean, you just want me to throw out a song out there for you to try. I mean, you know, Avenged Sevenfold? Sure. Or we were talking about, what's another song we were talking about? I can't remember everything right now. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to help. But when it comes to, you know, that's what I mean by Lightspeed being not experiencing. Oh no, I'm not on Spotify. But anyway, Lightspeed travels so fast that it doesn't experience time like we experience time. So it's, I don't know how to merge the chats for YouTube because I'm also simulcasting on YouTube. I've been doing that the last, this week. Yeah. I just figure it's easier than me recording the songs and well, if he's still in chat, here you go. One of the chatters in Twitch threw out that one, so there you go. Well, I mean, I guess it's a YouTube link. They were asking for Spotify. Beartooth? Okay. Hell, I might look that one up. I mean, I guess I could have thrown out one of my songs. I didn't even think about that. But anyway, what I mean is, what I'm trying to say is that when you're talking about these files and how they exist in the public eye right now, I have a feeling that they're protecting a deeper layer. Like, you don't admit to this and laugh at everybody's face. Oh, nice. About this is the redactions, this is it, you know, and it's really easy to sift through and find out what they're lying about. Okay, we know this. So, what are they actually hiding? Do they really think we're that dumb? That, oh, you know, there's nothing you can do about it, haha. You know, almost always there's a distraction dance going on. Almost always there's a read between the lines situation. Like, yeah, sure, they didn't want any of this coming out. I mean, that's obvious. Both sides of the aisle have been pushing this under the rug for so long that they can't not do it now. Okay, cool. So how do you trust what's going on because, I mean, how long have they had to modify everything? I mean, especially when, like I was trying to say about AI, you know, they most likely have a more advanced AI than we have. So they could literally fake all of this up. I mean, one, if you read any of the emails, there's a lot of extra characters in there or character swapping happening that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But when you're trying to generate, well, yeah, my intuition says there's a deeper layer. Not only are all these people guilty of this thing over here, but they're protecting a deeper layer that there was something more happening. Because why else would they want to get so many scientists in on it? Why else would he fund so many scientific programs? I mean, plus you look at Bill Gates and what he's been doing. Oh, it's definitely bigger than America. This is an international thing. Like, legitimately, look at how many people he had that flew their own planes. Like, also remember, we only have the passenger list for his private airplane. This isn't airplanes that others use to get there. A lot of these other people have their own planes. They have their own transport. There isn't just going to be one plane. Honestly, you want my point of view on the whole New World Order? The only reason why it doesn't exist is because America stands in the way. The only way we'll do it is if we're in the lead. Oh, don't even get me started on the Israel ties. Because Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was a Mossad spy. That's almost as much as proven. They haven't fully recognized him. But at his funeral, I think it was the Israeli prime minister or some official in Israel basically said that, you know, the world will never know what you did for Israel. And that's Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. Yeah, Epstein's got ties to Israel. Now, whether he was a sanctioned Mossad agent, I don't know. But again, this would explain the scientists, not the other stuff. That other stuff was the rich playing. I mean, I'm sorry, but what they were doing has been happening for generations, centuries with the rich and powerful, taking what's forbidden and making it their own little playground, which generally also just ends up being this, which, I mean, just shows you the depravity of power. Which is why, I mean, and a lot of people are going to hate me on this one. I think having an AI control the world or control your government is probably better than anything. I mean, because yeah, it's probably going to screw up. It's probably going to do some stupid stuff. But so do our politicians. You know, it's like, well, it's like people complaining about a self-driving car that drives into a brick wall. People do that. Why are we expecting more from a car? Right. Than we do from a computer. I mean, it's like, I'm sorry. This is stuff that doesn't make sense to me. We're expecting more out of something we create than we ourselves do. Because remember, I mean, a computer program is only as smart as the dumbest programmer. And while you might have a bunch of, the haters gonna hate, yeah. You might have a bunch of really smart people. There's still gonna be someone in that smart level that's at the bottom of that smart level. You know, that it's still going to drag the overall IQ of whatever you're doing down. Like, I'm sorry, but that's how that works. And I'm not saying that that person is dumb. I'm saying that they're not as smart as the others. I hope that makes sense. You know, even if it is by very minute percentages. So things are going to happen. AI is only, I mean, one, AI is only going to make you more of what you are. If you're a lazy SOB, you're going to have AI do everything for you. That's how that works. And that's fine. If that's what you want to do, just don't expect it to go anywhere. But if you put it together and you do what, and you put the work in too, AI can be a better tool. It can let you take that idea further than you would have on your own. It's not going to make you anything more than what you already are. Oh, don't even get me started on that. That's why I don't like power seats. I absolutely hate power seats. Because power seats give you the illusion that you can adjust it perfectly for you, when you really can't. It's why I just like, don't give me the illusion of being able to, adjust it perfectly. We also forget that analog has finer control than digital, because digital has more of a steps in it, whereas analog, you can slowly shift it in between settings. And I think people forget that a digital world isn't necessarily better than an analog. There are things like, I like power windows. I hate power seats. But even still, there was something about having a crank window that you could adjust it perfectly. Because, just tapping that button doesn't always get that window open. Like if you just wanted to crack, you can't quite get it right where you want it. So if you notice, most people, it's either all the way down or all the way up. Whereas back when you had crank windows, people could just crack the window just to get a little bit of air in. I also miss, in trucks, wing windows. Yes, they're notoriously expensive, but I miss wing windows. And if you don't know what I mean the window in a truck, like where it's the window right in front of the actual passenger window that had the little triangle space so you could push it out. They're notoriously complex and difficult, but people, expected them. And nothing was better on a hot day or on a cold day, depending, than being able to just crack that little wing window. I've even been in cars that had the wing windows in the back seats. That was a long ass time ago. But either way, why, hello, Juice. How are you? I don't know. It's just one of those things that I am doing good. We're talking about the annoyances of modern technology. And how it correlates to the Epstein files and computers, and how I think that AI is not going to make you better. It's just going to make you more of what you are. If you're lazy and you want something to do all the work for you, AI is there for you. But it's also not going to be any better than what you would do yourself. AI, if you put the work in and you work with it and you do what you want it and train it the way you want it, can give you better work. But you have to sit there and train it. Cannibalism? Well, there might be a bunch of that going on with the files too. I read and watched some stuff about jerky and how it didn't correlate very well to people eating jerky, because I'm a jerky fiend, but going through 70 pounds in a month, that's an awful lot of jerky. And just the coded language. See, that's the other thing is that I think people are looking at these things wrong. Even in cannibalism, if jerky was really cannibalism, that's still an awful lot, and you would notice the effects because cannibalism comes with its own issues. None of these guys had palsy, which if you do the amount of cannibalism that these guys were supposed to be going through, you would reach a level of palsy. And not true palsy, but you'd have shakes, twitches, because of the chemicals and stuff that, I mean, especially if you ended up getting any kind of nerve tissue. Oh, I try. I also have a lot of experience, Juice. And so I think it's a code word for something else. Now, when they use the code word pizza, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they're talking about. But when people are pointing out this jerky thing, they're like, oh, it's probably cannibalism. It's like, I think that's another code. Honestly, I think that's a code on a code. And like even they give a recipe at one point, and if you read the recipe, it's not generally how you're going to make jerky. I'm going to be honest with you. I've made my fair share of jerky, and some of the ingredients didn't add up in my head. Like, or at least that isn't where it would have ended. You should have had more there. There was too few of ingredients. Right. I mean, there's a reason why we don't have too many man-eating animals. And only a few of them even resort to that. And they have to be pretty friggin' hungry to do that. Yes, I know. No. You are absolutely correct. The initials are all that matter there. But also, there's like deeper coded language that I don't really want to get into because it disturbs and disgusts me. But what I'm talking about when they're talking about jerky is that, oh, I don't. There is a guy on YouTube called Coop. He has, as they like to code it, pasta fence videos. He's going to have a third one coming out soon. But basically, to understand Coop, I think it's might also be found under this. What's my opinion on it? My opinion is that everybody that's involved needs to go down. The fact is that we're only scratching the surface. And I think that there's deeper things going on than just what they're saying he was guilty of. I think he admitted to lesser charges, not to be caught with the bigger charges of treason, spy, genetic manipulation, market manipulation. Like, I think he was part of a much bigger thing, and no, he wasn't the head of it. Like, he may have been a high-level lieutenant, and he was the sacrificial lamb they used. Because somebody had to put him into power the way they did. He couldn't have got there on his own. Oh, that's proven. He was already convicted of it once, and he was going to be convicted of it again. Absolutely. But I also think that he was genetically manipulating women. If you look up Zorro Ranch, supposedly there's a medical lab. I don't know enough about that. I know Trump was close to him, but I don't know how much of that is true and how much of that is manipulation. You know, basically everybody trying to drag everybody down, you know, mutually assured destruction. Do I think Trump would be capable of it? It's possible. It is definitely possible. I think there's definitely a whole lot of information out there that says he was, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of proof. And I don't honestly think that he's ever really liked them that young, at least in any kind of display that I've seen. If he was, why wasn't he doing, like Miss Teen USA? Why was it always Miss, why did he always go with the 20 somethings? I'm just saying, that if you look at the psychology of what Trump's done over his years, when he ran the beauty pageants, they were all of a certain age. I don't think he preferred them to be much younger, if at all younger than that. But I don't really know because I didn't really dig into it, because again, this is something that side of it, I've seen several pics that are very questionable, but I also know how easy pictures are to manipulate even before there was Photoshop. And especially with how many different layers they've gone through. Now, is Trump a disgusting person? Yes. Would it surprise me if it actually came out, and he was actually convicted? No. I'm just saying that I haven't seen the evidence enough yet, because a lot of things can be easily taken out of context. That's what I'm saying. Have I seen every pick in there, though? No. So maybe there's certain picks that I could see that would go, oh, yeah, never mind. That changes my mind. I am open to being wrong. I'm not a huge Trump supporter, but I'm also not terminally brain dead. I won't just automatically say he's a bad person because of the news says he's a bad person. I've seen too many people dragged through the mud in my years, and when it comes to light later on, you find out that there was a whole lot that they were doing otherwise that should have been brought forward. If you actually look into Bush Jr. and how he's basically the reason why we have an AIDS vaccine at all. And yet nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about all the good works Bush Jr. did because, well, it was more fun to poke fun at him. Because, he was fun to poke fun at. He always looked confused. And I think his dad and everything pushed him into that job. Trump, on the other hand, I think is also just a puppet. He's not the real power behind the presidency. I did not. Now, if I see those, and it, definitely, that would probably sway my opinion that, yeah, he's definitely guilty. You have a good night, Jade. So, yeah, if those videos are out there, yeah, I totally agree. Then he's guilty. And he needs to be punished for his crimes. That's anybody that does that should be punished for their crimes. That's flat out. Exactly. There is nothing else I can say on that one. This all hits really hard in certain ways that really it's really close to home. Let's just say I have experience with people that have done this, and part of me is very angry and trying to lash out and say things that I know I don't actually mean. It's one of the reasons why I steer clear of specifically talking about that side of things, because it angers me to a very deep degree, because the one thing that I hate more than anything in the world is people who abuse their power. And that to me is the ultimate abuse of power. And if I want to be able to stay on platforms, I can't talk to these things because I can't talk about it rationally. Just to give you an idea, Juice, I'm not trying to protect anyone here or anything like that. It's legitimately so angering, I can't think straight. And it makes it really hard to put myself back on a track to be able to talk about it rationally. You know, if I see videos like that, I used to really like procedural cop shows. But when my friends would watch Law and Order Special Victims Unit, I'd have to leave. That is not something I stomach well. So it's also why, you know, these files being out really take a big toll on my mental health because everybody's talking about it. And that's probably why I'm looking for the deeper thing that's going on. And I honestly think that there's a whole lot deeper that would disgust people even further if they truly understood that Jeffrey Epstein most likely was doing genetic manipulation, and this genetic manipulation could probably literally change the world forever. And we don't even know how to get rid of it, how to stop it. You know, that to me is even worse abuse. I mean, I know that's hard to say, but you're talking about something that could literally change the course of humanity if we ignore it. Genetic manipulation is one of those things that, if done, can basically change the whole course of human history. And with Epstein having so many scientists, geneticists, AI scientists, whole wings at, you know, various colleges that he paid for, he had access to much more advanced tech than we've seen, than we probably will see for another 10 years. You know, he had access to prototypes. And that's where, you know, things, you know, looking into it, things really get dark real quick. You know, I mean, you're taking things, you know, eugenics to a whole different level when you start introducing things like this. You know, you start talking about conspiracy theories that people won't even believe were possible for another 10 years. You know, I mean, the fact that, you know, you could release a few genetically modified mosquitoes into a population, and that population's genes could be rewritten. And in a generation, that spreads and spreads and spreads. And suddenly you could have a whole continent's population's genes rewritten in a generation or two. Which, I mean, if you're playing a long game, that's a long game. But it's entirely possible. You know, that's something that I think a lot of people aren't thinking about. And with the lines that he was willing to cross, I don't see him being unwilling to cross that one. You know, or even the fact that he may have cloned himself 15, 20 times over. You know, we don't know. And that's where it gets really scary and really dark, is that all of this may come out in 20, 30 years when these kids grow up and they start, you know, doing some kind of genetic, you know, 23andMe or, you know, all of these different, you know, hey, I want to take a look at my genes and realize that they have a whole bunch of cousins they never even knew, or brothers or sisters that are out there according to the genetic stuff. Because, I mean, that's the other thing that a lot of people don't talk about, is that Jeffrey Epstein, which is why I said 23andMe, would literally give out 23andMe kits as party favors. Yeah, the face-off machine upgraded. Yes. You know, I mean, he literally would give out and was basically testing people's genes. And even in certain cases where it was illegal for them to do so, they were getting people's genes tested that were not supposed to be able to do it. Like, I think it was their home country that it was illegal. So they made it look like it was coming from the US. So, I mean, they've already corrupted the whole, you know, genetic testing numbers by telling people these genes didn't come where they were supposedly come from. You've already, I mean, just with that action, you've already messed up how that's supposed to be figured out. So, I mean, I don't even know how to correct that now. And we don't know how many people he did that for. We know that he was really close to certain people. You know, and that's where we, how do I put this? That's where we get into a lot of trouble. Is because when you're talking about something that looks at things at such a minute layer, when you're talking about genes and what the percentage is, and if you just skew those numbers just a little bit, that error propagates throughout the whole system, because that's how genetics works. You know, and there's a whole lot of things that could happen between everything, all the science that he was funding, all of this stuff. There is this huge gray area that I'm not even alleging any of these scientists did anything illegal. Not intentionally themselves. Like, I'm not trying to accuse any of the scientists of any wrongdoing at all. I probably should have said that to begin with. Most of these guys were just there for, you know, scientific talks. We're not talking about, you know, parties or something. But that should really bother you that Epstein was hosting on his island the equivalent of TED Talks. That these scientists were talking to rich investors to invest in their tech. Well, we all know that investors have to see some kind of return. So what were they getting out of it is more, you know, it's a tit for tat. So what were they getting out of it? You know, that's the part that we really need to look into, is not whether these guys were guilty of any crime, but what did they promise? What part of the tech were they getting a hold of? What part of the tech were they getting what part of the tech were they promising? You know, I mean, think about it. You write a song, and, you know, most songs are relatively repetitive, and you put in one wrong note. Well, that note keeps coming up throughout the song, and it destroys the whole song. That one wrong note makes everything wrong. You hear it instinctively. You know that that note shouldn't be there. It's the same way with me looking at these files and going, these names shouldn't be there. Something is wrong. You know, especially, again, you know, the ties to colleges. And like, okay, if it was spring break colleges or colleges that were less technical and more on the business side, I totally understand. But the fact that most of the colleges that he was putting money into were highly technical schools. We're not talking business tech. We're not talking We're talking, like I said, genetics, physics, AI, advanced computer coding. You don't gather these people together without having an agenda. And that's what really kind of just, I want to shake the tree. I want to see what fruit falls out from that. But I also know we only have half the files. Out of 6 million files, we only got 3. We don't have the full files, even though that's what was told we were going to get. Now, of course, a lot of that's going to be double up and surface layer crap that, we can just chuck out. But what are they really hiding if these are what they give us, as poorly redacted or whatever, overly redacted as they are? If we can see that something is wrong here, what are they hiding? What are they afraid will get out? And I really kind of want to leave you guys on that question. Like, really think about that for a second. This is what they're willing to give us. Because, as this administration has proven, it feels no need to actually go through with it. So why are they doing this? What are they not showing us? There is a greater evil being hidden. They're looking at us saying, "Oh, this has got to be the peak depravity." But they're not admitting to certain things. And yeah, exactly. Like, this is what they're willing to give us. There's still twice as much they're not willing to give us. So what is it we're not seeing? People are focusing on what we were given, not what was being hidden. They have it made up in their mind that this is all Epstein was dealing with. And I have more of a feeling of when I was reading and looking into the files, as much as I could stand to do so, which wasn't very deep, I will tell you. This was a pastime, a hobby with him. This wasn't his real work. Being a ringleader of this wasn't his real work. He was doing something else. This was like you coming home from work and playing a video game or watching TV. This was how he unwound. I want to know what he was doing to wind himself up. Trafficking wasn't his job. I want to know what his job was. How he got the money to do what he was doing. People say he was a financier, but honestly, there's no proof of that. There's proof that people gave him money and he gave them back some money. Money changed hands, but that's not what a financier is. There would be records, there would be ledgers, there would be all sorts of forensic accounts of finances if that was really what he was doing. So what was he really doing? What aren't they telling us? That is the thing that bothers me. What are they not telling us about what's really going on? And why is the government both governments terrified? Because Biden had his chance. He could have released these files. Trump had his chance. He could have released these files. What has both sides so terrified? What aren't they telling us? That this, we know they're all tied up in this surface layer. They're more afraid of us finding out the real story. And that's really what I've got to leave it on. Because this rabbit hole gets dark, gets deep. And I don't have any answers. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I could be, absolutely off on the wrong track. Either way, I'm going to leave it here and I'm going to let you guys go. I hope to see you here again tomorrow. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. And thank you for showing up. Bye-bye.
I let go and the ground let me. Streetlight shades fall quietly. Every sound drifts out of phase. Every fear begins to fade. Windows slide beneath my feet. The city hums but can't reach me. For the